All right, everybody. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster Saga Press. Today, I read two books. This afternoon, it's a Saturday, a nice afternoon to do nothing but read. I read The Man Called Noon. You can see my review elsewhere on this channel. I reviewed it earlier today. And then I also read Nowhere to Run by C.J. Box. We're going to review this one right now. By the way, there are some great similarities. Just accidentally, these two books, there are some great similarities between these two books. And then they're both about, the Western wilderness and gunfighters and gunfighters, the last duel of the gunfighters, kind of a theme, trope, whatever. Anyway, let's get to C.J. Box. Now, if you followed my reviews, you know on this channel, C.J. Box is my new favorite author. I've been digging these mysteries. I've been reading his Joe Pickett mystery series now. All summer long, we are to book number 10, and that's Nowhere to Run. I love this book. I loved all the C.J. Box books. In fact, I've got the entire collection right up there on the top shelf. And we are to book 10. I'll probably end up... Gosh, I'm breezing through these books. I love every single one of them. This is set in Wyoming. Joe Pickett is our game warden. One of the reasons I love this series is because the covers also match. All the spines look alike. I'll show you again, in case you think I'm lying. All the spines match. All the covers have these great scenes of Wyoming. This one's kind of like got a sunset with the clouds and the trees. And then, the covers are just cool. Joe Pickett's a game warden. He's a bit of a... he starts out as a pretty naive game warden. By book 10, he's got a few more smarts in him. He's still making mistakes, though. Now he's making mistakes on the Ned Stark level, in that he is a lawman, and he will do the right thing under any circumstance, even if it means it's going to kill him. Even if he knows that means he's going to die. And this comes up over and over in this book, where there's plenty of chances for him to extricate himself from a dangerous situation. But the right thing to do, according to the law, is stay in the situation and risk death. But that's why we love Joe Pickett. He's the Ned Stark of Wyoming game wardens, really. I mean, he's going to bite the dust one of these times just because he's so fucking noble. Anyway, Joe Pickett, he's got his family, his daughter Sheridan, and he's got another daughter. But Sheridan is now 18. In book 1, when we first met her, Sheridan, she was just a little girl. But that's the fun part about reading these books, is you get to read about Joe Pickett's family as they grow up. This book is about some pretty weird stuff. I mean, he's in Baggs, Wyoming. That's where he's been assigned to be a game warden. It's not anywhere near his family. His family lives on the other side of Wyoming. This is his last week in Baggs, Wyoming. And this is where Joe Pickett does the right thing. He's heard that there's some weird things happening in the Sierra Madre Mountains. And the Sierra Madre Mountains are a dangerous place to go anyway. But he hears there's weird, mysterious goings on up there. People have gone missing. An Olympic runner, a marathon runner, has gone missing. A lot of things, a lot of weird stuff. The last thing he hears is that some bow hunters shot an elk. They tracked the elk to where it died. But in the 20 minutes from when they shot it to where they tracked it to the dive, somebody had already skinned and taken all the meat off that elk. And they were just like freaked out. He's like, well, I got to go check that out. Bad idea, Joe Pickett. Bad idea. Don't go up in the mountains alone. So he goes up on a week-long quest alone in the mountains with his 2 horses to find out who did this to the elk. And he comes across 2 of the just craziest guys in fiction that I've ever met. They're called the Brothers Grimm. That's what they're called. Although they don't like it when people call them the Brothers Grimm. They say, no, we are the Grimm brothers. Now, one of the reasons, and we'll get back to those guys, but one of the great reasons why I love these Joe Pickett novels is because of the way C.J. Box describes the Wyoming landscape. And there was a passage here, and I don't really normally read from books, but I loved everything about this passage, because this This C.J. Box book in particular, it's not only about those two bad guys, the Grimm brothers, but it's also about Joe Pickett fighting against nature and fighting against the very landscape he's in. And I just loved how the mountain ranges in Wyoming were described by Joe Pickett. And let's read it. Joe ascribed certain personality traits to mountain ranges. He conceded his impressions were often unfair and partially based on his mood at the time or things he was going through. Rarely, though, had he changed his mind about a mountain range once he'd established its quirks and rhythms in his mind. The Tetons were flashy cold, bloodless Eurotrash mountains, too spectacular for their own good. They were the mountain equivalent of supermodels. The Gros Ventres were a rich graveyard of human history, both American Indian and early white, that held their secrets close and refused to accommodate the modern era. The Wind River Mountains were what the Tetons wanted to be, towering, incredibly wealthy with scenery and wildlife, vast and spiritual. The Bighorns, Joe's mountains in the northern Wyoming, where his family was still waiting for him, were comfortable, rounded and wry, a retired all-pro linebacker who still had it going on. But the Sierra Madre was still a mystery. He couldn't yet warm to these mountains, and he fought against being intimidated by their danger, their isolation, and heartless beauty. These mountains were like a glimpse of a beautiful and exotic woman in a passing car, a gun on her lap, who refused to make eye contact. And these are the mountains that he ventures into to find a missing girl. His quest into the mountains is twofold. He wants to search again for the missing marathon runner and who stole the meat out of the elk carcass that the bow hunters wanted, because it's a crime to do that kind of thing. Anyway, I just love the beautiful way he describes these landscapes, and there's a reason for that, is because this is not only an adventure of man against man, but it's an adventure against a man against nature. And Joe Pickett goes through some hell in this book, but it's hell created of his own doing. He meets the Grimm brothers in the mountains, and he knows these are like the weirdest, most dangerous dudes he's ever met. And they practically beg him to leave him alone. Leave us alone, or you're going to regret it. In fact, they give him hundreds and hundreds of chances to turn around and just go elsewhere. And he doesn't, because he's like, no, I got to write you a ticket because he catches them illegally fishing and catching way too many fish than their license will allow. So he wants to write him a ticket for that. And then he wants to write him a ticket for scavenging the elk meat that didn't belong to them. And they're like, and the two guys, they are both twice his size. They're described as 6'6", burly looking Vikings. But they're crazy. They're just crazed. And they're like, dude, just leave us alone. We've already warned you 100 times. Just get out of here before. And Joe Pickett insists on writing them fish and game citations, which is his job. He just won't let it go. But that's Joe Pickett, and that's why we love him. He's not going to be intimidated by the massive Vikings who clearly outnumber him, clearly have more weapons than him, and more mountain man savvy and everything else. He just knows he knows he's out of his league, but he sticks to his gun. He writes them the tickets, like Ned Stark would do if Ned Stark were a game warden in Wyoming. He just did the right thing. And things go shitty because he writes those tickets. And I love this book because, oh my gosh, it's gripping. And you're just like, and these guys almost kill him so many times. And they give him so many chances to just get the fuck off our mountain. We're mountain men. We want to live here just by ourselves and do our own thing. Just out of here. And he just keeps coming back because they keep breaking the law. And he just keeps, and I gotta tell you, it's like just you're beating your head, but at the same time, he is just doing his job as Joe Pickett would do. He just doesn't want the law to get broken, and he doesn't want people to get away with it. And you know what I mean? It's cool. There's just I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this book. It's the bloodiest CJ Box book yet. I mean, it spirals into um some territory, and CJ Box, and we still follow his family and things like that too. And his buddy Nate, oh gosh, what's his last name? The tough Marine guy that sort of acts as his bodyguard once in a while gets involved, and it just love it. Love it. CJ Box, my new favorite mystery writer of all time. I mean, and this guy ranks up there with Michael Connelly and Dennis Lehane in my book. Just loved everything about this. 10 out of 10.